Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, and we have a very special new series that we're starting where we are reading the book Designing the Mind, The Principles of Psychitecture. This was recommended by Jay-Z, who read the book and thought that the students at the Moira Press would enjoy reading it. First, I have to show everyone my new shirt. It says Astro School, which, of course, is a play on Astro School and Astro School. And then on the back, it has, you can't really see it, but it says Moira Press Explode, and it has an exploded chart. So that's cool. Um,
Nice. That's awesome.
all right. Okay, so tell us why you chose this book and why you wanted to share it.
Okay, let's see. Where did I even get this book? I got it at the uh secondhand bookstore, I think in North Carolina. And I got this book because I liked that yeah, that's where I got it. I liked that it's very brain science seemingly based in flipping through it, and I like that it gave like these pictures and diagrams of ways to envision like your mental map of reality. I like things that talk about things like that. And it's to me, it seemed like the next step in our manifestation journey, in which we're using our own mind or understanding our own mind's mechanisms, and it seemed to be able to be a way that we would be able to determine what we should desire or could desire and then manifest. So, and then I started reading and I really started loving it, and I wanted you to read it too so I could talk to you about it. So I sent you a copy and suggested we read it together.
Nice. And then we decided that it would be a really good thing to read as the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening because if in the worst realm, you would say that Saturn-Neptune makes you depressed about your vision of life or, what you're envisioning, your vision gets crushed by reality or whatever. That's what the negativistic side of a Saturn-Neptune. But the positivistic side would be that we can construct a new vision, we can carve out a new vision. And so I think you and I have been working on if we have a vision, how to make that into reality. And this book calls into question how to restructure how your brain and what your brain is visioning. Is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah, yeah. Because I do think that a lot of our the what we think about is caused by what we just assume from our life experiences so far, and the way that we have created the synapses through repetition or whatever. And I do think that we can re intentionally recreate our brain structures. Like I read this book about cognitive bias. I'm forgetting the name right now, but that also is like kind of like in the same area of like you have these cognitive biases, and you can overcome them by being more intentional in um, your assumptions.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we've been studying that Enlightenment book, which suggests we have no free will because basically our thoughts are all energy that wired into us, and we just, but this would, in some ways, would look to changing our free will because it's changing our thought. I mean, or maybe it's not in our free will to read this book, and like we're just puppets reading this book. But the point is it is changing the mental framework in which you are functioning, which in some ways could change your fatedness or something like that. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think if there is any room for free will, then this is a mechanism by which you use your free will to make yourself a more intentional life.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so let's start with the introduction, just so people can get into it. So he's saying this is a handbook for designing and optimizing your own psychological software. So by reading this book, we will learn to kind of rewire our psychological mechanism, right? He's like, we're going to place focus directly on our mind. So, I have to say, okay, so I have this problem with this book so far. Which is that people always think the mind is like right here and the brain is right here, and we're like restructuring this thing. But what astrology knows and kind of dermatome artists know, which dermatomes are those like electromagnetic swaths of skin that we like chart the map of the chart in, is that the brain actually lives in the whole body. And so like in this book, Esoteric Anatomy, like there's pictures of like, and yogis should know this. It's like here's the caduceus and the energy lines run down, and then there's all these energy lines. And like your brain, here's another picture of it. Like here's the energy lines running through the whole body. And I would argue that if we're going to think of this as psychological software, we shouldn't only think of it in the head. We should think of it as the whole system of the whole body and the whole psychological software. So here's another picture of the actual brain. See how this looks like a brain, but it runs through the whole body? The actual energy fields look like a brain. So what do you think of that?
Why? Because they have two lobes, like that was drawn as two sides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's interesting because I am reading this other book. Do I have it right here? No, I don't. But it's about why we create God, and then it has to do also, its theories have to do with the right brain, left brain thing, and then there's a limited amount of information that flows between them.
Hmm. Man.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, but that anyway, that's another one that's talking about just the brain. So I like what you're talking about the like the energy flows through the whole body, not just the brain gray matter part of the body.
Yeah. Let me actually see if I can find where am I? Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Where's my can't find my dermatome drawings. Oh wait, maybe they're next to my oh God, I have so many papers. Oh, here they are. Okay, so I just want to show people a picture of this. So this is what the dermatomes look like, and you can map a chart in these dermatomes, which a dermatome is like derma is skin and tome is like swath of. So they like there's a nervous system and then there's a subtle nervous system which goes down these dermatomes. So we say that the chart gets wired into these dermatomes, and so each of us has a different brain according to how our wiring in the body goes. And so I think it still works for this book to say that rewiring our brain is actually rewiring our brain. Like it's fine if we say the brain lives in the whole body. I don't think that's mutually exclusive to what this book is saying. I just think since we're in astrology gray matter here, we should just look at it as like how astrologers think, right? It's like we think like this. Or at least I do.
All right, cool. So it's mostly like these pictures where he's representing your brain and the synapses and pathways in your brain. You would expand it to those pathways throughout your whole body.
Yeah, totally. So, okay.
I'm with you.
Okay, cool. He said if you want to change your brain, you are a psychitect. So
Yeah, you are.
I like that. I like that because how is a psychic different than like a psyche? Like a like a psychitect, like that prefix psych. What does that even mean? I mean, like a psychic would be somebody who pertains to the psyche.
I don't know. Yeah, we'd have to look the etymology. Do you know it?
No.
Like,
Let me look. The root word or the root of the prefix psyche. Let's see. Prefix. Prefix psyche. Oops. So the prefix psych means mind or mental and is derived from the Greek word psyche, which translates to the soul, spirit, or mind. See how it's kind of the whole thing is the
Mhm.
psyche is commonly used in words related to psychology and the study of the mind. So if we're looking at Psychitect, we're going to restructure the mind, body, and spirit. Like we're not just going to do the mind, we're going to be like a Psychitect.
We're a full psychitect,
We're
not just a head psychitect.
we're an not omni psychitect, no a ampy psychitect. We are a I don't know, like what makes it seem like more ubiquitous and all over. Like um
All right, but yeah, we're full psychitects. That's good. I like it. I think he even says he coined the word psychitecture. I think I like it.
yeah. Okay. So he says you will learn to build the habits, lifestyle, and character, which will gradually enable you to become your ideal self.
Yeah, all right. I want to become my ideal self. Although I guess that makes me pause to say, what is my ideal self?
Yeah, well, that goes like just definitely in line with the mega manifestation work that we do.
Mhm.
You know, it's like we're always trying to become our ideal selves, and so I really think this book's in line with what we do. Um, so let's talk about neuroplasticity. Now, what is neuroplasticity?
Nice. From my understanding, neuroplasticity is the ability of of your brain to learn.
Interesting. Yeah, like it fights the notion that our brain is a static thing that, like once you like who you are is just who you are. Like neuroplasticity would say like no, your brain can learn a new language, your brain can learn to do a new thing. Um, and astrologers actually are in line with this because we see transits on that dermatome structure. So the actual brain is literally evolving because the dermatomes are evolving through the transits. So we actually kind of accept neuroplasticity or psychoplasticity.
Oh, yeah. And I also think that it kind of goes hand in hand with resilience, that like in general, when you're more resilient to like new or unexpected or unusual experiences, then you grow more and you learn more. And then maybe it gives more of a feeling of expansiveness and expanding your world and your worldview. And then it's kind of a virtuous cycle that other new experiences are easier to incorporate because yeah, you're more.
Interesting. Like if we accept ourselves as plastic, like you would say, like we're like we can be built on expanded or like all these things like yeah, I think this kind of goes with our video on the growth mindset.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
that's
this is a
part of
growth
it.
mindset.
Yeah.
So he's saying like people can modify their software of their minds to dramatically impact their life. So I think this book would be kind of like maximizing the use of the plasticity of the brain. Like, do you feel like this book teaches you how to really modify your brain when it needs modifying, as opposed to just letting it be static, basically?
Well, I think it does, and I think it also teaches you like make this change and it will push you in the right direction. Kind of like, kind of optimizing on figuring out the root cause and where to just make a little push over here at the root cause to put things in a good direction of the best changes.
Interesting, interesting. There's something called demand control schema in sign language interpreting. This seems like a non sequitur, but it's not. Okay, so like when there's demands put on you in an interpreting situations, you have controls. Like you can, let's say somebody's over talking you, you can control that by saying, "Excuse me, this is the interpreter. Can you stop over talking me?" Which is one control, but you could also control it by just not letting them overtalk. I mean, there's a million different controls, but you have to be careful what control you use because it can create more demands. Like if I interrupt and say like, um, can you please stop over talking me? Now they think I'm crabby and mean. So now they're getting crabby and mean with me, which creates more demands on me. And like, so it
Mhm.
sounds like with this book, it's that idea where you're gonna learn to just make subtle change. Like you're basically saying there's a demand on my life and I want to control it with a tweak to my brain or my system, but we want to be kind of conscious or aware about what we're tweaking and why and look what the outcome effect will be of that.
Yeah, I do think so. And I think it's also like if you change the flow of a river a tiny bit when it's a creek way at the beginning, you can make this big impact further on that would create that would you would need more energy to do later on. So maybe if you try to go back closer to the origin and you make your little changes there. They
Interesting.
make big impacts later.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Fascinating. So he was okay, so now he's saying there's a chain of triggers and responses and inputs and outputs. And there's like algorithms, and this is the algorithms of our psychological software. So you're kind of saying that like you're gonna make a little tweak that's gonna send a chain of triggers a different way, or like, um, there. So what's the chain of triggers? It's like,
Well, it's you're gonna change the algorithm. So maybe we should stop for a minute to talk about what an algorithm means.
sure,
Let's see. I think he defines in the introduction what he means by algorithms.
here,
Um,
let
yeah,
me
yeah.
look.
More interestingly, the solution to these problems that worked all fit into the same framework. I label these patterns algorithms, and the sum of these algorithms become psychological software. So algorithms are kind of like rules, like if this, then that, or yeah, they're patterns that you feed inputs into. The algorithm transforms it into an output. So it's a set of rules that, given the same input, it will create the same output again. And given a slightly different input, you can predict what the output will be because you know the rules that do the transform in the middle between input and output.
Hmm.
Does
Yeah,
that it
so
kind
I'm looking up an algorithm is a finite sequence of well-defined instructions typically used to solve a specific problem or perform a computation. It acts as a step-by-step procedure that converts input into output.
nice. Yeah.
So
All
like
right.
if you do this, then this output happens. If this stim comes in, then this output occurs, kind of
Right. If
thing.
somebody bumps into me in an obnoxious way, then I get mad.
Interesting.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And so this book is partially helping us change the algorithm. So when the same input comes in, it computes out to a different output.
Yeah, if someone bumps into me, I take a second to think, was that intentional? Did they mean to bump into me? Oh, they didn't, and then I'm not mad.
Interesting.
Versus like anytime and someone bumped into you, you get mad.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay, I see where he's going here. It's like changing our set pathway. Like I develop algorithms. Okay, let's take it. Sometimes when we go really like abstract, it's good to go down to like concrete. There's in learning, there's like abstract, pre-operational, like down to concrete. So like bringing it down to concrete, like okay, so like I have certain algorithms I've created. Like when I get a critique, I always go, "Oh, are we doing critiques? I only do critique parody. Do you want to critique too?" That's an algorithm I've developed on purpose because every time there's a critique, I used to get deflated, my heart chakra would close. And then I developed an algorithm of behaviors to keep my heart chakra open through the critique and also defend myself or whatever. You know what I mean? I know that's a crazy algorithm I created. It's crazy. But I do think it works effectively to keep me like spinning or whatever and everyone, you know, spinning, I guess. Um, I don't know. But the thing is I if that wasn't working, I could see where we would need to change that algorithm because it's maybe it's causing too much pain on the other side. Like I give a critique back and then everyone's upset now, you know? But like, so if that algorithm wasn't working for what we really wanted, we would change that pathway. Or it's like, do you ever have things people say to you and then you develop a pat response?
Yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of any like good examples right now.
Yeah. Um, because I feel like this is like sometimes we create pat responses for thing like okay, I used to be a cashier at a grocery store and I'd be standing there for like 1 second between customers and people would come up and they'd be like, "Oh, you look bored." And like
Mhm.
like they do it all the time and I was just like not bored. I was like resting for a second, you know? But like every time I would just be like, "Ah," like I'd be so annoyed because I'm just like I'm resting for 1 second, you know? But like in cases like that, it's really good to think of a pat response that heals you back to normalcy from that comment that kind of hurts, and like so like having a joke response or like oh yeah or like yeah you're right I have nothing to do or like thinking doesn't count for any I don't know see I would have to literally develop one that's not offensive but also heals me, you know what I mean? And like so sometimes developing an algorithm can just waylay tons of heartache, like
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Nice.
okay. um Now he's saying that in the pursuit of self-mastery, there are three major components: cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. So, what are these? Cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. How are they different and similar?
Okay, cognitive response is I think the response that kind of like that algorithm that your brain thinks of, like, I don't know, it's hard to think of something like cognitive, you put your hand on something hot and then like you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And you take it away and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's like a logical cognitive thing. Then an emotional response is like, yeah, something like what I was saying before, like somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're like you get really mad emotionally because you're like they cut me off, and then it's like an emotional response, right? And then the behavioral response is like what you do coming from that like emotional thing, like, oh, they cut me off. Well, I'm gonna, flash my lights at them, slam into the back of them, speed up, and then jump in front of them and cut them off. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah, no.
so I think that's what he's trying to say. So if in keeping with my example of like getting cut off, what would be the cognitive response? I guess the cognitive response is just understanding like, wait, that person cut me off. And then if you change your pattern way back at the cognitive thing and say like, oh, well, maybe they're in a big rush. They're, going to the hospital to meet their friend. They have to get to work on time or they're going to lose their job. Then you can chill yourself out. Or at the emotional one where you're like, oh, they did that on purpose. I'm so irate. Then you can like, clip it there. Or the behavioral one, you can be like, okay, I'm not gonna actually like drive in front of them and slam on my brakes. I'm gonna let it go, even if they are a total jerk, right?
Mhm.
And so you can change your responses at any of those points.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like in some ways, I mean, language is just codification of energy. So it's like I'm just like, this is how this guy is codifying things. But it's like, astrologically, a transit happens cognitive, emotionally, and behaviorally, like all in the same, because we see it as like essence coming in and extruding through the chakra formation. So it's like a chakra spinning differently will have a cognitive difference, like it will actually make you think something differently. Like if your throat chakra is spinning closed, you'll have more tight thoughts, and if it's spinning open, you'll be more verbal. Like I don't know, I just feel like because we work on like chakric layer, right? Where it's like, or let's say your heart chakra. Let's say your heart chakra is spinning really slowly. You'll feel these tight-hearted thoughts like no one loves me or whatever. But like it will also affect your emotional self. Like we just feel it, and then that will affect your behaviors. You'll be more cold and distant, and like I don't know.
Uh, well, so let's think about this from a remediation point of view, though, right? So say that thing, an event happens that makes your, throat chakra have energy in which you don't feel like heard or understood or something like that, right? And so, like, you can remediate it at maybe a behavioral level, uh, or an emotional level or a cognitive level. I don't know. Does that make sense? Can we think of the ways that we might
Yeah,
remediate at those different points?
totally. Like a cognitive remediation would be to speak differently of something. Like if somebody was like cognitively thinking about something, like they were like, um. I'm an I'm a narcissist. I'm a narcissist. Someone told me I was a narcissist, so they are cognitively tripping on that meme of narcissism. We could say maybe you're just a show person. Like, and you
Mhm.
could cognitively change their picture with a word, right? If they were emotional about it, they were just like, "Oh, I feel like someone called me a narcissist," then we could like literally hug them and then we'd be like, I love you just how you are. Whatever you are, I love you. And you hug them. And then their emotions kind of change, like, and then behaviorally, I mean, yeah, I think we could deconstruct all around this. I mean, I don't think these are the only three ways you could describe the world. It's one way of describing it. And for all intents and purposes for this book, I'm totally fine for the ride of describing things this way. I just, you know, we're just in the intro, we're seeing how he thinks, basically. He's like, this self-mastery triad will provide the organizational backbone of this book. So we need the self-mastery triad of like cognitive emotional behavior. We need like a song so we can remember that. Cognitive, behavioral, emotional. God, where's your guitar? Cognitive, behavioral, emotional.
Yes, excellent.
So that was pretty much the introduction. He does have the Psychitecture toolkit in here, which
Oh yeah.
he says there in addition to this book, verified readers can download a free 50-page guide on Psychitecture, which includes an overview of the basic concepts of Psychitecture and psychological algorithms, a breakdown of 8 psychotechnologies you can start using to reprogram your mind. 64 incredible book recommendations related to self-mastery and psychitecture. Wow, 64 books? We could read 64 books on this.
Yes, we could do a whole series. And they're really good books too. Like wait, what was it? Like Marcus Aurelius. We can like
Whoa.
classics, like classics.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a list of 16 websites, blogs, and podcasts that can aid in self-optimization and quotes from great psychotextual visionaries.
Yeah, yeah. We can go deep. And I did get my psychotext toolkit.
You
I did
did?
download. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's great. It is a good PDF with like some real good images and like a kind of like a when they have like what do they call them, like Cliff's Notes or a mind map of the concepts of the book.
Nice.
Good.
Wow, you are dedicated to psychitecture.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I do. Actually really do think it's cool, and that's why I really wanted to read it with you and discuss it.
I'm gonna call you on the phone and be like, hey, Can we get a change on that algorithm where you no, I'm just kidding. I'll be like, I'm gonna start talking in psychitecture lingo.
Yeah. Yeah, we can start drawing the like the input distortion and cognitions.
Whoa.
Oh, maybe should I flip my camera around so that you can actually see the things
No,
and
you
read
can
it?
see the thing. Or I could
Oh,
see the thing.
does it look like it's backwards, the letters, or does it look like you can read them?
No, you can read them.
Oh, weird. It's just in my view then.
Well, you're your own producer.
I guess so.
The producer has spoken. Okay. Now we're on chapter one. Is there anything else you want to say about the introduction?
No.
Okay. So chapter one is the theory and practice of psychitecture. Do you want to read the quote on page 12?
Yeah. In the past, this quote is from Yuval Noah Harari from 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. In the past, we humans have learned to control the world outside us, but we have very little control over the world inside us.
Dang.
Do you think that's true?
Well, I mean, like they say, we don't have control of our thoughts. We only have control about which ones we consent to. So, I mean, I don't know, you and I have done a lot of self work. I mean, sometimes I feel like people are always telling us that because we're in self-help world, so then it's like people are like, yeah, you're not developed. And I'm like, no, I'm actually I kind of do have control of my inner world. I mean, when transits, like, for example, when I have an emotional distortion going on because I'm in a transit, like I crochet it out. I mean, like, nary a day goes by that my emotions do not come out. You know what I mean? It's like I am
As
controlling.
crocheted objects.
Yeah, totally. Like, here's my emotional sphere today. What do you think of that?
Pretty.
But no, but you see what I'm saying is like I do think that remediation artists, we do have some practice at controlling our inner world. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that I would agree that I have very little control over the world inside me.
Yeah. I think that's what yogis try to do, right? Like, instead of controlling the world outside them, they try to fix problems from within to get centered and, yeah. But I get what he's saying here. He's saying don't only look to your external world and be a control freak. He said have internal locus of control as well.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
All right. He says every era attempts to explain the human mind in terms of metaphors of dominant technologies. I thought that was so interesting. He was saying that, like,
Yeah. Of its dominant technology.
yeah, like he's saying, for Plato, the mind was a chariot. For Descartes, it was a mechanical clock. For Freud, it was a steam engine. But nowadays, it's a computer.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a computer. Do you feel like this is like the advancement of humanity, right? Where it's like the more advanced we get. Well, you could say every time period was advanced in its own way. I mean, each outer planet configuration makes advancements.
Hmm. Yeah, so it is interesting that like so think about this again, like what you were saying, like the most for in Plato's time, the most advanced technology, well, I guess in his city, right? Or whatever, his location was the chariot.
That was the most advanced. So the mind is always like the most advanced technology available.
Yeah, yeah. But I wonder in like say if we believe like I don't know in Atlantis, was there an Atlantis and then their model would have been more complex because they had some things that technologies that we supposedly don't have anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Or like
I
whatever
don't-
technology they use to like put those big huge stones up on the top of the pyramids in Egypt. Like like
Yeah, that was what they would equate to the mind. I don't know.
yeah.
And what about our future generations? Do we think that self-learning AI will now think that our minds are like, because that's more than just a computer. Or I don't know, maybe it's not. What do
Okay.
you think the our future generations is model for the mind is going to be? Oh, I
Full
know.
reality.
Yeah, a quantum machine.
Oh, well.
And once we start to understand quantum reality, we'll be like, oh, haha, those people who thought that a computer with like logic gates that could only say one or zero. But what about like quantum bits? Have you heard of quantum bits?
No.
Oh, quantum bits are in like quantum physics. So they have not only, do you know about like logic gates on like in computers? They're binary. Like it's either a one or a zero. It's either a one or a zero. Like the pathway through is either a one or a zero.
Are they little gates, basically like if this is one, it goes here, if it's zero, it goes here kind of thing?
It used to be actual gates when you think of like a old school adding machine, or then in those computers that would take up a whole entire room. The logic gates really were like mechanical levers, but now they're in the little chips that are in your computers and in your phone and everything. But and those are just like they'll emit a signal that's either a positive or negative, or a positive or nothing. So that's either a one or a zero.
Yeah, yeah.
But quantum bits or qubits, they have they could be either a one or a zero, just like the Schrodinger cat analogy. The cat's in the box, and it could either be alive or dead, but you don't know until you open the box. And then by opening the box, you have set into reality, this reality, whether the cat is dead or alive.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with qubits. It's by measuring them and you can only measure them by poking them from a certain direction. So it's in a certain direction. You have to test it to see whether it's a one or a zero, and then it's either a one or a zero. But until then, it was the unmanifest potential. And so it's a one or a zero in a certain direction.
Wow, it's like a vector, one or zero.
Yes, yes.
Wow,
Anyway, sorry for that digression,
that was
Sponge.
fun. That was fun. My autistic mind liked that. That was fun.
All right. Well, good. Well, anyway, maybe that's the model that future generations will have of what our mind is. It's not a certain state, but a certain state at a certain moment or in a certain direction.
Whoa, that is freaking epic. Okay, it's like, what do you have, like a Mercury, Pluto, Uranus or something? Okay, so it's like, what are you like epically making new ideas in a really intense way? Okay, so like, okay, let's do this exercise where we make our mind into different machines. Like, the mind is a crochet hook.
Oh, yes. That's the way that it grabs onto something and then holds the thread.
Oh, interesting. But I was thinking we wouldn't use a crochet hook because it can only do certain things. Like, I feel like the reason the computer is the thing we use is because it suggests like a computer can do anything. Like the human mind can do anything depending on like how the chart is built and like I mean I don't think every mind can do everything. I mean I think each mind does different things depending on how the body's built and you know each computer does different things depending on how you configure it and how it's wired and things like that. But I feel like it would be like the mind is like a craft star.
Yeah, yeah, that's not as good, but I want to go back to the mind being like a crochet hook because it is all about inputs and outputs, right? So the input for a crochet hook is a piece of yarn. And then the output could be a zebra or an owl or a quilt or
Wow.
a shawl.
Interesting. Okay, okay, that was good. That was good. Yeah, like if you give your mind yarn, what does it make? Like, oh my God. I like that. Okay, okay. So you really made the mind cool with the crochet hook. Like, okay, but I like what you're saying. You're teaching us that the mind is an algorithm set where it takes input and it does computations and then it does a certain output. And I do think people are that way as far as STEM goes. Like for example, when working with actors on TV, or I guess we're acting like ourselves, right? But like, okay, if I say something to you, Jay-Z, your mind will stem on that and then produce an output in response. If Alexander was on the show with us, his mind would algorithmically create a different output from that same input.
Yeah.
So each mind is a different computer doing different algorithmic, has a different algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. So do you feel like in reading this book, it's really about changing your algorithm?
Absolutely. Like that seems to me, that's my understanding of what he's saying the book is good for. The book is to help you upgrade your algorithms.
Fascinating. You know, I have to say about the mind. So it's interesting because I have a Mercury Uranus conjunction
Hmm.
and you have a Mercury Uranus opposition.
Hmm.
Do you think our minds are like, I feel like one of the fun reasons that I love, like, I guess working with you, I guess we're at work right now, but like, or like playing with you essentially, or what, I don't know, like talking with you and like musing with you or whatever, is like, I feel like we both have Mercury Uranus. You know what I mean? Like, we take input in our mind, like takes it a little further. You know, it's like I don't just give you input and then you're like, oh, like I'll inputs and then you stim on it and you like build on it. Like it's so fun to work with your Mercury.
Yeah, yeah. No, same here. I think we do help each other like toss the ball back and forth and keep getting yeah,
Yeah,
higher and higher with it.
yeah, like when we toss it, we go like this, like like you know what I mean? It's like and it's like we're both constantly going higher. It's like never like we didn't just read Psychitecture and be like, oh,
Yeah, that was all right.
yeah, that book was cool. Like I just think it's so fun. This is actually probably a good place to stop is on that the mind is a machine dealing with like inputs and X like that's a good conceptual you know.
Yeah,
Okay,
got it.
we're on page 13.
All right, cool. All right. Well, till the next time then.
Whoa. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time you go to Aruba, you're gonna have to ask my permission. No, I'm just kidding. You're not allowed to be absent.
For a whole week or more.
It's like I just kept tossing balls and it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
I love your algorithm.
Yeah. Me too. I love yours.
Wow. That's what you should look for in a best friend is somebody who you love their algorithm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I love you. I'll see you at 5:30, 8:30.
All right.
All right.
Good. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.